Do a light little burnout. Very nice. Of course not, you're not gonna be as fancy as the Germans, but you're gonna be bigger than the Germans. You're gonna have a bigger displacement, and you're gonna be louder and more obnoxious too. So you gotta take that into consideration when you're driving big vehicles like this. The only thing is that this engine fuel is slightly neutered, 5.3. (2023) GMC Yukon, the base model, which roughly has an MSRP of, let's say, $60,000. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the vehicle we're going to be driving today. And some quick specs about this one. 5.3 liter V8, pushing 355 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. And if you're curious about our transmission, this one I am pretty sure has the 10-speed automatic transmission with our interesting little Prindle going on over here. Like, it's weird having a Prindle that's not down here, or it's not like a column shifter and not the little dial those Dodge is trying to make up. But this is what the key looks like. I'm gonna do a quick little walk around of this gigantic 7-seater in all its majestic V8 glory. And yes, even though a car like this feels a little bit underpowered with 355 horsepower, it still gets the job done. It's more of a highway cruiser. You wouldn't feel comfortable driving this thing in a tight city because it's just way too big. It's way too gigantic. Oh yeah, something I learned the hard way. If you double click this, you open this little mirror, which most people forget exists. So make sure that's closed. So there's no actual way to open the trunk from here, at least none that I have figured out at least. Look at all this trunk space. This thing doesn't sacrifice any trunk space while being a gigantic 7-seater. It's like just perfect. And yes, this is the base model. The higher ends are like the Denali's for an extra 20K, but cloth seats all around. No heated or ventilated seats back here, but we do have our own aircon, so take what you can get. And coming all the way to the back, move it forward, and then tuck it down. You can fit, I want to say, 2 fully grown adults pretty comfortably here, not gonna lie. It's not bad. There's no aircon, but you have your vents up here and your charging ports in the corners as well. Now going into the fun parts, again, this thing is all-wheel drive, but it is rear-wheel drive bias, so it makes life a little bit interesting. We also have our sport modes all the way down here, which I quickly discovered. We have our 4-wheel drive and our all-terrain settings over here. All your cruise control, well, not cruise control, your lane keep assist, your traction control, your parking, and etc. will be in the corner there. Let us deny that. We have a good, I want to say almost 8 inches of screen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and we have Amazon Alexa. To put it in drive, flick this thing a little bit up. You can see our fuel mileage, like all the simple stuff, which is 11.2, which is actually horrendous, disgusting. But again, on the highway, this thing saves way more gas than it eats up. And we can turn off our traction control, do a light little burnout. Very nice. Gigantic 7-seater SUV made to haul you and your family from point A to point B in a reasonable amount of luxury. I'm not gonna be the most luxurious person on the road, but you're driving a GMC Yukon. It may not be as crazy as a Denali, but my god, is it still enjoyable. You can't, like, when you get into a big car like this, you feel like you're in a truck. The road presence of this thing is crazy. I was just on the highway with this thing, and everybody, when you're in the fast lane and you're cruising, creeping up behind somebody, they just get out of your way because this thing dwarfs most vehicles on the road. This is only tinier than the full-size trucks and the long-haul trucks that tow stuff around. But other than that, this is going to be one of the bigger vehicles you will be catching on the road most times of the day. And since this one is the base model, it kind of sucks we don't have, well, I don't see my heated seats anywhere or ventilated seats. But you get what you pay for. This is not a Denali, so I'm not expecting to get Denali treatment from it. But the thing that I like the most about this one is just the luxury, the way it floats on the road. the way it tries to separate you from all your problems that may occur on the road. Do we have blind spot monitoring? No, we don't. Do we have lane keep assist? Yes, we do. It's hidden away, but it is there. Do we have crash assist? Yes, we have adaptive cruise control as well too. So if we get adaptive cruise control ready and we try and quickly figure out how to set this thing up. There we go, set it up at 74. We're cruising right now. Adaptive cruise control, I am sure for a big 7-seater like this, it's gonna be very, very comfy. And I wouldn't expect anything less. That's what I love about this thing. And again, let's say you wanna play some music, wanna enjoy some music. Come up over here. We have some funk. Put up our music a little bit loud. These ones, I don't see no names on the speakers, so I'm just gonna call them my no-name speakers. That song is definitely an acquired taste. But anyway, we have our Alexa. We have everything else in between. Hush now, I don't want you to come talking to me just yet. The only thing is that this engine feels slightly neutered. 5.3 liter V8. I honestly would have expected just a little bit more power. It feels like the engine somewhat struggles with putting down, not even putting down, just hauling something this big from point A to point B, which I don't blame. This is a gigantic car, but the suspension hides it well. It's so smooth and so like elegant and so easy to move around. Like, you don't feel like you need the extra power. Again, the Denali has a 6.4 with almost 500 horsepower, so if you want to spend an extra 20k, you get an extra 200 horsepower, so maybe the numbers do work out just a little bit. Are you gonna be as fancy as the Germans? Of course not. You're not gonna be as fancy as the Germans, but you're gonna be bigger than the Germans. You're gonna have a bigger displacement, and you're gonna be louder and more obnoxious too, so you gotta take that into consideration when you're driving big vehicles like this. And yes, you get used to the size. The size is only annoying when you're trying to make it into, let's say, a Starbucks drive-thru. That is when the size of this vehicle will annoy you quite a bit. And when you're trying to back up into a tight parking spot, or trying to maneuver around a tiny little Fiat that will be in front of you. Because you just look way too intimidating to be behind a Fiat. It doesn't feel fair for a car like this Mazda in front of us right now. It doesn't feel fair for a Mazda to be on the road with a car this big. Because if anything happens, that car is getting written off, and this one is getting a bumper replaced. I'm just stating the facts, man. It is what it is. But overall, this is a very, very nice vehicle. Very simple, a little bit of wood trim because, again, we got our hands on the base model. We haven't gotten way to sweet talk our way into getting all the hyper exclusive luxury ones. But we're getting our hands on the base model, so we're making progress out here. We're getting our hands on the most expensive base model, so stay tuned. We're gonna get something interesting out there eventually. But anyway, guys, this has been Morty in the 2023 GMC Yukon. I don't think this car really necessarily needs a 0 to 60 test, because there's just no point. It doesn't even feel right for a car like this to try and do a 0 to 60 in, probably does it in 6-7 seconds ish, roughly. I'm just highballing it. It probably takes a little bit more, but around that time. But this is the kind of car where it makes you want to sit back in your seat a little bit, put on your cruise control, just set it up right, listen to your music, talk to your wife, make fun of your kids in the back seat, ask them how their hockey game is going, and just enjoy life and drive. Like, this thing doesn't belong off-road. I would hate to see a car like this off-road. It would be too awkward and too big. Crossing. That is my phone connected and Waze telling me that there's a railroad crossing. But anyway, this is the kind of car that just doesn't do that kind of stuff. And the crash assist that tries to warn you, never try and test it yourself, because it's just not something you want beeping at you, you know? When the car is beeping at you, it's telling you, oh, hope is almost lost unless you brake the second I beep at you. So no, you don't want to be out there testing your crash controls basically, which I did confuse. This one doesn't have cruise control, it does have crash assist or crash warning assist, where if the car thinks you're approaching a little bit too fast, it will warn you to slow down immediately. Otherwise, maybe I'm just too slow and I can't actually figure out the cruise control. But let us call it a day. This is a very nice vehicle. I like it. And for the price, it's not bad. We got perforated leather, stitches going all around, like pretty simple and very enjoyable. Take care guys, and peace.